And my name is BJ, and what you're about to watch is the Christian Single Men panel discussion. The men that you're going to see in this video are not actors, they are not paid professionals. They are strictly Christian men that are seeking to encourage women and help them understand how we think, not to think like us, but just how we think, and also let other brothers know that they are not alone, that we all have our struggles and our challenges in this Christian walk. So I hope that you are encouraged by it, and if there's any feedback that you'd like to give us, positive or negative, let us know. We have thick skin, and we're all here just to help one another get it to the next level in God. Stay encouraged.
Y'all can get independent you want. I don't care how strong you are.
Yeah.
Once I get in here, you mine.
You see some women that are real strung out, stuck over a guy from 5 years, 10 years, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Why? Because she hadn't learned to release and she hadn't learned to forgive.
I don't look at no woman as a weak vessel. You know what I'm saying? God created all of us equally. You know, we have certain positions that we're in and certain, things that we go about things, and I was like, okay, well, we gonna do this together. We gotta do this together. Do it God's way. Because we do it any other way, it ain't gonna work. It ain't happening.
Welcome. We will welcome you to the Single Christian Men, All Men panel. I'm Sasha Walton. I'll be your moderator today. We have Carrie, who's one of our panelists here, and if you'd like to say a little something about yourself.
I'm Carrie. I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky. I moved here to work for Johnson Controls as a system sales engineer.
And next we have BJ Butler.
Hey, my name is BJ Butler. Put this together, a vision that God has given to me, so I hope that it will encourage and edify each and every one that listens to this.
And then Antonio.
Hi, I'm Antonio. I'm originally from New Jersey. I now reside in North Carolina, near Elizabeth City. Been there the last 7 years. I lived in Virginia for 10 years, and I'm just glad to be aboard.
And we have Nate Holloway as well.
I'm Nate Holloway. I'm from Virginia. I'm the CEO of Nate Holloway International, where I do relationship and business consulting.
Okay, so we have a good diverse group of men here that are in different backgrounds, and I want to give a nice little icebreaker question just to start this off with. And I'm not going to hit you too hard, but what does a Proverbs 31 woman mean to you? Don't answer all at once.
Well, I guess Proverbs 31, when you read it, the Bible gives the scriptural characteristics of what a woman should be as a wife. It talks about how she takes care of the house, how she takes care of the family, how she takes care of everything on career, the business side, helps out in those things, and it gives a better description of what a helpmeet is. Because if you look at all the characteristics of Proverbs 31 woman, and you put that together with the characteristics of what a godly man is supposed to be, it coincides, and it makes a great relationship.
When I think of a Proverbs 31 woman, the way I look at it is, I'm not expecting her to meet every verse, because I'm not going to meet every verse, but a woman that's confident in who she is, who God created her to be. And also I'm looking past the first month or two, because usually when you're talking about talking to women in the church, I think a lot of people put up the facade like, well, I'm a Proverbs 31 woman, looking for my Boaz, and but after the first 2 or 3 months, the facade falls down, and well, who is this person? So I'm looking for more of consistency with who you are and how it lines up to the Proverbs 31 woman. And then I can discern, not judge it, but discern your walk or what type of woman you really are. That's just my thought.
Okay, so the reason why I asked this question is because the whole point of the panel is to kind of gain the perspective of a single Christian man on how he views single men and women. So we're going to go ahead and go into some of these questions that we have. And based on the icebreaker question, why does it seem like some single men run from commitment when the Lord says that marriage is different?
Honestly, honest answer is some men run from commitment simply because there's so many options. Just to be bluntly honest about it. Unfortunately, as people, you kind of want to have the best thing you possibly can have, and sometimes it's partially due to our society. We always want bigger, better, best. So that's kind of the way we're conditioned to think. You might have a very good woman, but you might think, I can get one that's better. And then when you get the one that's better, you think, well, she might not be the best. So guys are constantly chasing. And unfortunately, women, you all don't make it, we don't make it any harder for a man to be committed, because a lot of times a man that's in a relationship, it'll be a woman that knows he's in a relationship, and she'll still try to pull him away from the woman he's with anyway. So it's kind of on both sides of the fence. It's basically a lot of options for a man, and women don't basically make the man stay because of so many, even her friends might even try to pull her away from him. It's pretty crazy and technical, to be honest with you.
And then a man will commit to what he values. You see that guy who worked 2 and 3 jobs to get that Benz. What is he doing every day to that Benz? He's cleaning it. He's making sure the tires are clean. If he feels like he ran over someone on the side of the road, he's going to stop, he's going to get out, he's going to clean it off. A lot of women don't make the man appreciate them and work for them. If as men, if whatever we have to work for, we value. So if I have to work for you, if you don't make it easy for me and I have to work for you and take the time to reach to you and get to you, then I'm going to value, I'm going to take the time, I'm going to commit to you, because I'm not going to waste my time with something that I'm not willing to work for.
The Bible also tells us that I wish that every man, Jesus said, I wish that every man could be like me. That being single, there's nothing wrong with being single, but because of your lack of self-control, you ought to marry. Okay, so therefore, like you say, valuing that particular individual, we have gotten away from appreciating the value of an individual. So that works hand in hand. You know, she has to learn to see the value in him and vice versa, and you build on that. The Bible tells us we should encourage one another more as we see the opportunity, you know, building each other up each and every day, you know, and sometimes we lose focus of that. You know, you constantly, you know, you haven't done this. What is this to-do list? You know, you haven't done this, you haven't done that. I don't have no problem with getting out there in the garden and planting vegetables and stuff like that. No, but come alongside me. Let's do this together. I mean, I love the idea of being in the kitchen preparing a meal and you're right there and alongside with me. You know, instead of being back in the bedroom, you got something else going on. Let's do this together. Everything should be a partnership, and I think we have gotten away from that.
I think another thing is going to the opposite end of the spectrum. Some guys have been hurt, and trying to date again, trying to go out there, it's difficult because, you know, some guys may take a week to recover, some may take 6 months, some may take years, and they will date you to talk to you but never fully commit because they've been rejected, they've had their heart broken. And for the most part, you don't hear a lot of men talking about this, had their heart broken, because it's taboo for a man to really express how he feels. So what you have is, I mean, we all react differently to pain. So what you have is some guys may avoid relationships altogether, or they get into the relationship, but they already know they're not going to stay in it for the long term. It just depends on where he's at. And the woman, it's not her job to try to figure out where he is, nor try to analyze him and help him along. I kind of believe to a certain degree it's up to him to see it for himself. You know, the Bible talks about examining ourselves. Every question I think a woman can ask about a man can ask about a woman is in the Bible. We start examining ourselves. If a guy was to examine, why is it that I can't stay in a relationship? If he gets down to the root of it, the deeper you dig into your personal life, the more painful it is to actually be honest with, this happened to me, and I'm afraid to commit anymore. So, you know, these guys, what they said were great, but there's other guys that I know right now that just won't get into a relationship, or they'll talk to one person here and another person there because they're safe. That's in their safe zone. No one wants to step out of their comfort zone. And you being a Christian is already, I guess, unnecessary pressure coming into dating, because there's a certain expectation you're supposed to meet. You shouldn't curse, you shouldn't be sleeping with her, you shouldn't be drinking, you shouldn't be holding hands like you shouldn't. And and what do you have? I'm like, good gracious, forget this. Come on, woman, we're going to do this. We're going to do something. I mean, you just get frustrated because there's all these stipulations. But the truth is, when you look at the Bible, and the greatest commandment Jesus said was, love one another. And when you love others, you find there's a boundary there that you just wouldn't do to somebody else because you have that love for them. So to answer the question as far as, why do so many run from commitment, they've been hurt and just haven't healed from it yet.
But to piggyback off that a little bit, I was that guy that you just described. I haven't been in any serious relationship since '99. I was in a 5-year relationship. We got engaged, everything, and the relationship ended badly. I got hurt real bad. And for 10 years, I didn't trust women. For 10 years, if I went out with a woman, whatever she did, it remotely reminded me of something that my ex did, I dropped it. Didn't call her back. No, it was over because I was getting hurt. It was going to hurt. It was just like maybe a couple of years ago, I got to the point where I could really, I had a friend of mine taught me, said, you can't hold other women accountable for what she did. So I had to get to the point where I really got myself out of the box and said, okay, because I became a hoe. Okay. I became a player, it was, I'm going to get mine, I'm going to get you before you get me. And it came from there. It wasn't the right way to do it. But I did, but as you said something, you said when you search deep in yourself, it wasn't when I realized that wasn't me. And I looked at who I was, who God called me to be. But other than that, I realized what I was doing to other women, and how I was hurting them. They may not said it, but I was. And I hurting myself in the process. I had to change that. But I ran from commitment because I didn't want to go through what I went through. Again, like I said, anything that looked remotely like something my ex did, it's done.
And to piggyback off of that, and I'm in conversation with women, and I say, find out about that heart of that individual man. Find out what kind of relationship he has with his mother. Okay? If he don't want his mother to be treated any kind of way, and he's not going to treat you any kind of way. So I think the individual, that particular woman should take that into account, and study that about that man very carefully to learn about that man, and it makes a difference. It makes a difference.
Now, based on what you just said and what BJ said, as far as studying that man, but then you also said not for women trying to figure him out. So if you have somebody that's in your life that is studying, but they also see that you're going through, when does it come to that breaking point for you to say, okay, I know who this person is, I know that I'm going through some things, but they are safe, I can trust them. When you or that person gets to that point of breaking,
God has to get you to that place.
okay.
Nobody can do it for God. He has to be working through you, and reveal some things to you, show you that way, because there's a way that seems right to man, but it ends up bringing destruction. You know what I'm saying? Our own way of thinking, we've known from past experience, we just jack things up. We have to spend time in the Word, we have to pray. He said pray about everything. Pray about that individual,
So for that woman, because it could be opportunity, if she's strong enough, she's going to hang around. But then if she's like, you know what, I'm fed up, I'm tired of it, and it's somebody you really care about, but yet, where you at pushing her away?
Well, she has to, for one, what you said, about pray, you have to pray. And then two, there's two sides to that coin. There's the spiritual side and there's the natural side. You pray and then you have to be willing. Because one thing, God is not going to change our will. So you have to want to continue to know this person. If you're with this guy and he's going through something, but now there's no problem with the woman learning the man. There's no problem with that. You're supposed to learn everybody you're with. You're supposed to ask questions. I say everything in my book. I got a section called 10 Commandments for Dating. One of them is thou shalt ask questions. You got to ask questions. You got to learn that person. But you also have to ask yourself, am I willing to stay here and go through this? First, you talk to him and say, look, what's going on? I need you to open up to me. I need you to talk to me. Tell me what's going on. I understand you've been hurt, but I'm here. You can trust me. Talk to him. If that don't work, you got to decide. I love him, but am I going to deal with this? Am I going to stay here? Because if he don't open up now, he's not going to open up after you get married.
and then it's going to just bring you a headache.
It comes down to a thing of what's acceptable, what's tolerable, what you will tolerate, what you won't accept. You know, you got to look at that. You know.
So, in light of everything that we're talking about, so would you say that everything that sister said, that be one of the reasons why some men pursue short-term relationships instead of marriage?
I think so. I think so. Because I've mentioned that earlier within the discussion. I don't know whether you were here about being in relationships for 6 months. You know, I tell a woman, I'm scared women aware of it. I'll give you 6 months of that. I don't know how to do it. I need change. And it just blows their mind. Like, whoa, what do you mean? Here you are now at that point, you know, maybe 5 months, you done got yourself emotionally attached, you know, mentally and all, and you all messed up. But I've also been damaged too. You know, I've got involved with 2 women and all, and I was crazy about it. I mean, you know, one of them I said, hey, listen, I planned a trip. We're going to the Bahamas. And she was just like, okay, let's go. You know, but this to the degree, it takes a lot for a woman to get me to that place. And I'm saying, hey, I'll bring my paycheck home to you. You know what I'm saying? That's been a rare in my life. You know, I count on one hand, less than 5, okay? But it was good.
So you really opened up my next question that we really don't have. So what really, you already answered, you don't have to answer again, but for the other 3, what happens when a woman gets in your mind?
What you get in your mind and how? What you really
If you're willing to do anything where it's like that woman has captured your heart,
then I'll give her the work. Oh, any man that has a woman's heart, or a woman that has a man's heart, like you said, you'll move mountains for her.
so to help the women out that will view the video, and also the ones that are here, how can a woman capture your heart? Like, what are the things that they can do?
Ooh, that's a difficult question.
Well, I know one of them. I know one of them is humility. You know, she's very humble, and you discover in your dating her and all that she don't like confrontation. I had 2 of them, even just in the last 3 years. And when I got in confrontation with her, I felt so bad, and I went back and I cried. She saw that emotion side of me, and all. And I said, I'm sorry. I apologize so, because we've never had a conversation in 18 months. You know, 18 months all of a sudden, and it was something silly, and it was my fault. I'm man enough to admit, hey, babe, I was wrong. And I was out of place. You know, I lashed out at you, and my response was just, you know, it was unacceptable and all. So I'm trying everything I can do to get this thing right now. You like strawberry chocolate, you know, the strawberry thing and all?
Yeah, they do.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, it's yours. Flowers, you know, you at work, calling you, hey, I got something on the way to the job. You know, this is to the extent I would go. You know, but that's a rare. You know, it's a rare.
I think maybe it's just me, but I feel like we have our checklist. We know the things we like or we want, then you have that other list where you don't even realize the things that you're attracted to. And it's like when people start meeting, when a woman starts meeting that list, you know, it's like, wow, you know, I like that. Oh, she does this, so that's another check. Oh, she don't do that. Well, oh man, you know, this woman is you know, the bomb. So it just, to me, I'm a little more old school in the sense of you let it progress. You don't force anything. You know, all this microwave dating, hey, what's your name? Can I get your phone number? And 5 minutes haven't even passed yet, you know, and we're going out to the movies in the same night, you know.
Well, now, I don't see nothing. I can see no, because you got to see, I'm sorry, you got to be real about this. I'm not saying, I don't do the microwave dating either. But if I meet you and I get your number and we're not doing anything that night and I say, hey, let's go to the movies, it's fine and dandy.
Right.
But if we jumping in bed that same night, or we talking about, you tell me, if you say them 3 words, I love you, in 3 weeks, you don't. You know, I mean, some people say that, oh, but you can't give so much in the beginning. It's like dangling a carrot in front of a horse. That's, you got, like, ladies, you have to give us something to pursue. Now, I'm a man. I'm be straight. If most men, if you give it to them right away, we're not gonna turn it down. But a real man wants to pursue you. You know, so we want to pursue. You may not think about. We want to pursue you. We're gonna pursue you, right? And so you have to be to that point where, like, if he asks you for a phone number, she give it to you. I mean, you may say, well, what are you doing later? Let's go grab a movie. Let's go to Starbucks. Let's sit down and talk. You know, but be real about what you want to talk about. Be real about it. And ladies, you got to look at the man and say, okay, listen to his conversation. Now, you know, analyze what he's talking about and pay attention to everything, because a man, we can put a facade on to get you, but to answer the question about getting in, for me, to get to me, you just have to really be sincere about what I'm sincere about. Like right now, be willing to build with me. Be willing to, don't expect me to come in there being a baller. Because I'm like this, but if you come when I got everything, I'm wondering why you're there.
Yeah.
I want you to be there with me while I'm building up, because you're there while I'm building up. I'll give you word, because I want your opinion. If I'm working on a business deal, I'm working on something, you say, babe, I don't know, try this. Now, I'm going to like that because I want you to get involved and be sincere about it. Even if I love playing Madden, even if you don't like it, one day just come over there and just jump down there with me. Say, I'm going to beat you anyway, and you may not know how to play, but we appreciate that. And for me, I'll throw the checklist away, and for later, if you come in and you're sincere about being in my life, then everything else will fall in place on the checklist. For me, it's just be yourself. Just be yourself.
Just to give a different perspective, I will say this. You notice you talk to 3 different guys, you got 3 different answers. No matter how many different guys you're going to talk to, every person has something different, just like I'm sure all the women have something different too. Like he said, checklist. I don't have a checklist per se, just 5 things that I go by. That's it. Everything else is kind of, I don't want to say it's up in the air, but it's basically just spiritual compatibility, emotional compatibility, physical attraction, of course you want to be with somebody you're attracted to, communication, and character. That's it. That's it. If you got those 5, I can pretty much work around everything else. I'm just saying, so like, that's 4 different answers. You can't, unfortunately there's no golden key that's going every guy to the work for all of them. It's just different things. The one thing I didn't say though is, and something my pastor talks about all the time, he said, make sure you're with someone that is genuinely kind of heart. I don't think a lot of people think about that. But genuinely kind of heart, for me, that falls under like emotional and character compatibility, but I don't want to be with somebody who's like a mean-spirited person. Like me personally, I'm a very kind person. I like to help people. So if I'm with someone who's like walking down the street, somebody needs help with something, I try to stop and help. She's like, no, we're doing something else. That would bother me personally. You know what I'm saying? It's like every person it'll be something like really small that we probably don't really know the answer to. It'll be something that happens, like a little switch will go off your head, like, oh, and all of a sudden you kind of feel different.
So would you say, and this will be the last question for this segment, but I've heard people or guys say that when, especially on the level of friendship, because everything should really actually start off in a friendship basis first, and then build into a relationship once it goes from there. But so looking at the scenario, and there are many questions within it. So the person that you're actually talking to, you're on a friendship level, but there's a host of all other women around in your life as well. But this woman stands out because of what she do. So this person was saying that they think it's such a beautiful thing in the world when that woman actually engage in what they like to do, and the things that they show that interest, and without strings attached, and that's like the thing that really captures them. So would y'all say that could be the same?
That's friend zone.
Yeah.
That's basically
but it takes that person to where that person is more so in the limelight for that guy.
I guess now think about it, I guess it depends on, it's still friend zone. But I guess it depends on things. Because the Bible says a friend loves us all the time. And one thing that my pastor told me, he said that the key about being friends first is that when you become so much of a friend with this person and they're out of your life, you feel like a part of you is missing. So that person that you are dating or that person you become, even if we can be interested in her, I can be interested in her. But my goal, he said, change your pursuit from a pursuit of romance to a pursuit of friendship. So if I meet this woman and I'm interested in her, I don't go to her pursuing her straight for romance. I change my pursuit to a pursuit of friendship. That means getting to know her. We hanging out, we doing fun things. We talking, getting to know each other. And what happens is we become so attached to each other as friends that when we get into a relationship, it's totally on another level. But as my friend, if she's gone, I feel like something's missing from me, and then that's how I know that she has a significant part, in my heart.
So on that note, we're going to go ahead and take a break, and we'll be right back. So welcome back, And we're going to go to our next segment. That's a nice, good question from this one. We want to really tackle in on the heart of these men and their mindset. And I want to start off and ask about what makes a woman the one?
What makes one woman? Okay. The Bible says he that finds a good thing. So basically, you're the one when you're chosen. When I choose you, if you meet up to, I see a lot of people when I was going to church, well, you know, you gotta pray, and you know, God's gonna show you. It's gonna be, and God can show me, you know, but it's my decision to choose, you know. But you're the one when I choose you. The one that I choose is the one, you know, because she lined up with everything I prayed for, everything, all the characteristics I wanted and looked for. So when I say, will you marry me? Then you're the one.
Okay, before I go to the other man, I do have something to add to this what you said. You had mentioned that scripture. One thing that I look at, and I'm not sure a lot of other women do look at it the same way, but it's not just something now. So when the Bible says that when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord, do you actually look for that favor on her life before you even ask her to marry?
Well, when you look at that scripture, and it said when a man finds a wife, finds a good thing, obtains favor, there's a certain level of favor that a man gets from God when he gets married. Because you have to continue to go to God to continue to please her. You have to continue to go to God to pray on how to take care of her, to pray on how to lead your family. So it's another level of favor. The wife brings a favor to the man that he didn't have as a single man because she brings that help me part.
But it's also determined. So when I look at, I'm sorry to kind of take this over for a little bit, I just have to say this, but also when I look at the scripture, we know that everything is already predestined and pre-ordered by God. So he knows our end before our beginning. So a lot of times, whoever we end up being with, whether it's divorced or finding the right one afterwards or whatever like that, sometimes I look at it, or the way it's been shown to me is that the favor really does come on that woman. Because that's like, especially if you see yourself growing to them with that person, you consider them. And that's one way of you being able to check off things.
Well, she's a favor.
Well, not only that, but it says you obtain favor from the Lord. So what it'll feel like to you, you're in your business, right? So you meet somebody and they, you know, everything is lining up right for you as far as what you see in them and everything like that. So what if she comes with a certain amount of resources or connection? You know, so it's like things start to open up more for you in your connection with her.
Right.
Because of the favor that's on her life, but also because you're already considering her as well. So you're going back and forth to God about her already. She doesn't know about it. But that's the way if you pinpoint that person is really for you. And but also in that scripture too, so a lot of people look at it and say, okay, when a man finds a wife, finds a good thing, you look at, oh yeah, I found a wife. But it's about the wife's qualities that are in that woman. So you can always find a woman, but it's the wife's qualities that you find in her. So, you know, just I just had to say that to kind of help the ladies out. But also to kind of deepen your perspective as well. I know this is an all-men panel. It's about your perspective. But the more you grow in that perspective, the more you can help some of the ladies out too. So just
Oh, you know, I never thought about that till you just mentioned the favor. I just totally forgot about that. But I would like to believe that she would enhance, you know, the favor that you talked about would enhance what she's bringing into the marriage. Because I've seen people that get married, and the Bible talks about, I can't think of scripture right now, but basically it says when God gives you something, He doesn't add any sorrow to it. And I've known people that get married in the last 6 months, a year, because she was looking for a husband, and I tell women, if you look in Genesis, you know, God had already told you that He would desire a husband. So, you know, you have to understand there has to be some type of self-control. You just can't be like, oh, this has got to be my husband. But the first guy that sometimes meet, they marry, and it doesn't last because she's trying to fulfill something, and he may be trying to fulfill something, but the thing is, are they, like he was saying earlier, are they talking, are they communicating? And then you talk about favor, well, that's at the opposite end. To me, if you're talking about getting divorced and it's only been 6 months, so that tells me that there really was no seeking God in it. There was no open communication about the two individuals. You just was going through the motions.
Well, that's a problem in that right there. She looks funny. The Bible says he that finds.
Right.
There's nothing wrong. Don't get me wrong, ladies. There's nothing wrong with the lady introduce herself to a man.
Right.
Nothing wrong with lady, introduce herself to a man. But when you're pursuing me, then that's an issue.
Oh, yeah.
Because you've already changed the process that God put in place. God wants you to be found. Because when you're found, you're desired. If I found something of value, I desire it. But if you keep coming to me, and you're all like I had this happened to me a couple times, and a couple women come to me in church and say, "Oh, God told me you're my husband." I said, "He didn't tell me that."
Yeah, really.
I'm like, he didn't tell me. One literally told me, I came to church, I saw you standing up at the front, and God said, "That's your husband." I was like,
And the same thing happened to me. I said, Calvary. I ain't gonna mention her name. She took me out. I'm like,
but you can't, ladies, you can't. See what happens when you throw yourself, and when I say throw yourself, I don't mean like you may think like you all in space. You could throw yourself at a man by pursuing him. That for me, that's a turn off. I'm gonna be honest. For me, for you to pull me, if I was back in the day. Still my player days, that'd be a different story. You pull me, like, hey, man, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
But now it's like, because you're not allowing me to be the man that I'm supposed to be. You're not allowing me to pursue you, which I'm the one who initiates. I'm the one who comes through. We can talk. And once we get started in pursuit, but your job is it's like I'm pursuing. Your job is to kind of hold back. Make me learn you, make me get to know you, make me start appreciating, make me work for you, make me buy the flowers.
Yeah.
Make me pay attention, make me notice your new shoes, make me want to.
Let me discover what's interesting to you.
Yeah.
Things that interest you, the things should become interesting to me. You know what I'm saying? And then at some point, it begins to slowly turn. Hey, he likes to work out all the time. Let's do this. I want to stay healthy. I want you healthy.
And don't tell him everything in the beginning. Let him find out about it. Let him notice a couple of things. Let him say, hey, I saw you do that the other day. What is that? Or I saw you looking at that. You like that? If you tell him everything you like, everything you do, every characteristic you have, it leaves no mystery for him to work with.
And I will add to that, it's an all males panel, but I know I hear a lot of women saying, there's a shortage of men, which kind of pushed a lot of women, the women that are hidden, like, well, I'm not hidden anymore, come marry me, come get me. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but I understand where they're coming from, because they desire a husband, so they're putting themselves out there. But, for the most part, what we're just saying is these are the consequences when you put yourself out there, that, he was just saying earlier that, it's easy, and I've been there before, it's easy when a woman just kind of puts herself out there, and it's like, wow, well, it's been a while, and you just go into a physical relationship, and that's all it is. Now she's wondering, what happened? Where did I go wrong? You didn't go wrong. I just wasn't interested in you like that. You desired me, but you didn't even take time to find out what I was interested in you. Was it as a friend, or did you go further than that? You have to pump your brakes. And I guess again, the Bible. Examine yourself. The flesh. We fight with this every day. When you get up in the morning, alarm clock go off, you hit the snooze button, you already fight with your flesh, whether you know it or not. You're fighting with it. So when our desires that we have, our physical desires, even our mind, we're supposed to put that on the cross, supposed to deny that, and it should be God's will. Yeah, and we just have different levels of how we crucify ourselves. So bringing it back to relationship, that's why, like in the Bible says, be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. Well, serpents for the most part are not aggressive. They don't always attack. You got a few poisons, but what snakes do is that they observe. If anything, they run away, they retreat from you. They don't necessarily attack. And when they're out there, they're always putting their tongue out there because they want to know what's out there, what it is, an animal or a person. They feel around. So when the Bible says be wise as a serpent, we should operate in that same kind of wisdom. Who are we dealing with? This is the type of person that we need to run away from, we should hide from, or this is a person that, we can actually, if we need to, confront. So, looking at relationships, I think we have to operate more in a biblical sense. And yeah, I know society for the most part, that's becoming taboo when it comes to actually trying to live a
Safe
Christian life.
people is what they call it. I'm reading a book now, Safe People. You know, myself, I've even been an unsafe person. Now, how do you develop being a safe person? You know what I'm saying? I mean, this thing is deep. And it takes a lot for me to read. So after this book, when I read it again, I'm about finished with it now. Like, oh, paperback, but it's good. Pastor recommended it a couple months ago. But like in January, this is about maybe about a month ago now, when T.D. Jakes came in. I was like, it was awesome, man. I was like, wow, I'm learning a lot about myself. I'm discovering, abandonment, traits, why I won't stay in a relationship long, I don't like confrontation. Confrontation comes as part of the territory. It comes with the relationship. So I have to get to that place.
So just based on what you were saying about safe people, it kind of reminds me of the scripture in Proverbs 31 that says that the husband's heart is a trust in a woman. So what would it be about a woman that they would need to know how a man's heart can safely trust in her?
That's a good question. Well, I'm thinking, if anything, it depends on the level of trust. You're talking about what it is. He has things in his past that has happened to him. Can he confide in her safely to the point where 2 weeks from now, a year from now, she's not throwing back up in his face, well, you had that happen to you. And no, if I trust you to be gentle with my secret, because it took a lot for me to come to you. So I'm expecting you to hold it, not throw it back in my face.
Please.
Because if you're throwing it back in my face, then I know right now I can't trust you. This is as far as I can go. For me, I just extend my level of trust. Anybody I'm dealing with, I give you a little bit, and if you throw something back at me, I have no animosity towards you, but I just know where I stand with you. So with a woman, just keep it.
I say it this way, like I've heard it said before, one of the pastors from Kentucky, he said, men are like waffles and women are like spaghetti. Like women, you pull one string, it's all kind of one together. Guys, we like compartmentalized. So our heart is in one place, everything else is somewhere else. If you get to a man's heart to a point where he trusts you like that, there has to be a point where you are willing to like protect or something. It's like how a man is supposed to protect a woman from like physical harm. It almost needs to be the same way with a woman with a man's heart. It's like, you've heard from the guys up there talking like, when a man is hurt, we're hurt in a whole different way. Not saying women aren't hurt as well. But if you break a man's heart, it's a whole new level of pain and stuff. It's not, I don't even know if I can put it into words, to be honest with you, but it's a whole new level.
Because it's like we get to the point where we compartmentalize everything. It's like, when you hurt us, we really not going to let you see it, because we don't want you to see, because women, y'all know what buttons to hit. Y'all know how to hit those buttons. Once you learn what button you're hitting, hit that button. So we kind of hide it. One of the things about how, for me, how a woman can I know she have my heart, is trust with her with my heart, is that I know that I can be vulnerable around her, because if I'm hurt or I'm dealing with something, I got to be able to come to my girl, even if she's not my wife yet, but be able to come to my girl and say, baby, I'm dealing with this. I just need to yell, scream, even cry. And she not look at me as a weak man because I had to cry in front of her. Because we do cry. We straight up. There's times when we need to. There's times when we deal with so much, and we hold so much in to look like strong men. We hold so much in that it comes to a point where it's going to come out. And it's all going to come out like, all right, she has to be there and know when that's what's wrong, and just like, go ahead, baby. For me right there, you got me right there. If I could just be there and just be myself, be vulnerable, and I know that you are going to got me either way, I trust with my heart, you good. You got whatever you want. Sorry else.
So,
a little anger coming up.
okay, so just kind of reverse back a little bit, and I'm going to answer this question, and then after this, I'm going to back to the lady. You had mentioned about, we talked about being found. So, I guess this would be like a two-part question. First, I'm going to ask the vision that you have for your life, the purpose and the vision you have for your life. And do you think the definition of being found, or woman being found, would be just along the path of your vision?
Yes, like my pastor told me, we were talking one day, and he said, Nate, you're going to find her when you're pursuing your purpose. So you're going to find her when you're pursuing your passion. You know, because a lot of times, because ultimately she's a part of your purpose. See, whoever you choose is a part of your purpose, because he told me, you know, and I've heard this, the wrong one could make or break your ministry, or break you down, or mess things up completely. So he said, you know, ultimately she's a part of your purpose. So when you're pursuing your purpose and pursuing your passion, you know, ultimately you're praying for this. You're praying for this wife, and then when you meet her, her purpose and your purpose, it may not coincide all the way together, but a big portion of it is going to fit together.
And you should be able to see that.
Right, and you're going to know that it just fits. And that's when you're going to know, okay, now there's going to be some that come and they're going to tell you, they're going to even act like their purpose is a part of yours. You know, oh yeah, I'm into singles ministry, you know, I'm a singles ministry in my church, yeah, I'm all about being single, and I'm looking at you like, I got discernment, girl.
Yeah, that's what character determinant. I'm going to say that's what character determinant.
Because if it's ultimately it, you don't have to say all that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to see it without you saying anything.
Right.
Because ultimately she's going to want to be a part of what I'm doing, and when she's sincerely being a part, really, she ain't be paying me no attention for real. But she may even be interested, but she not even really going to pay me no attention. And then I'm going to be like, why? I don't know. You know, let me talk to her, and she's like, okay, then, yeah, I got you. It's on my business. No? Then that's going to make me pursue her. So that's what, you know, I want to get that women. Make him pursue you. You know?
I've seen somewhere it happens where some women are just a little more assertive or a little more aggressive, and you have guys that are passive. And I'm not speaking to say it's right, but you just have some relationships that are like that, where the woman will go after the guy and it works out. Again, I'm not, you know, condoning that, but that's a reality.
Well, that's because they committed to each other to make it work.
Right.
It doesn't matter how, you could have two people that are totally opposite in a relationship, but if they make a commitment
Right.
to make the relationship work, with his quirks being way off here, hers way off there, they create not chemistry, but they create processes. You got some people, I know some people that's married, that they just go through a daily process. That's how that marriage works. They don't even like each other. But
That's true.
because she don't believe in divorce and he don't believe in divorce, they make it work.
But that doesn't really mean that it was for them to be together.
No.
That's a trick
But
question.
they decide, because see, it's like I said earlier, God won't change our will. That's one thing, God will not change my man as our will. He could have this path lined up for us to go, but if I decide to go this way, and that's the way I keep going, He's not going to change that. Now, my results and the consequences, solutions I get from going that way are going to be on me, but He's not going to change that. So if I meet somebody that I'm not supposed to be with, or that I choose to be the one, and it's totally the opposite, and she just gives me pure hell every day, but I made a commitment to deal with that, then that's on me. But it's going to work because we make it work. It's any principle you put in place that works, any biblical principle you put in place is going to work regardless of who do it.
But then the thing is, would you want to look for the principle that makes it work, or the one that makes it work?
Yeah, no.
Right.
You know, so before you even, because of dealing with relationships and marriage is such a sensitive thing, because you're dealing, not only are you dealing with the anointing of a relationship, but you're also dealing with covenant before God. So if that covenant, not only before God, but between the two people that are made. So if that's more of an importance, because you think that it would be best to make sure that you're seeking Him along that path.
Oh, definitely.
Before even making
Yeah.
decisions, because
Definitely. I
as
just
you
say,
said, it can make you or break you or anything that you're doing, or, you know, for a man who has vision and purpose, you know, you should always look for that woman that's going to complement you. One thing I
Right.
look at is, you know, like for myself, and first with some other ladies, you know, I look at it like, I want to be able to, when I look at that person, I want to see me. Or when that man sees himself, I would want him to see my reflection on him, because a woman is a man's glory. Just like God is his head, Christ is the head, but the woman is his glory. So if you know that you have that right person in your life, then all of that's going to balance out, and you know, to worry about the drama or the conflicts and things like that. I mean, even though it will work out,
right.
but you know,
That's true, but but the main key is you have to make the commitment in the relationship. See, you can't wait till you get married to make the commitment. There's still things you have to commit to make it. You have to commit to make the relationship work. Right. See, people think, right, and this is one thing that gets me about the church. They teach you as soon as you get out of high school, you need to get married. No, a lot of churches don't teach you how to be single, how to have a successful relationship, because in the relationships, it's just a prerequisite to marriage. When you meet that person, so you have to create the fail-safes, you have to create the processes, you have to get the commitment. If this is the person that you know you want to be with, then you commit to making this relationship work to go into the marriage, because if you start doing that, then the marriage is just going to keep going. You're just going to be on another level. It's just a contract, man. You're just doing the same thing, and it's a contract. It's just a contract. Then, on that point, then you can have sex and have kids, and then you're sharing everything. But even in the relationship phase, if you start then, when you get to the marriage phase, it's not going to be an issue.
And all relationships require work. Being single is a relationship. It requires work. Being married, and I was married, it requires work. And like Nate said, commitment. And that's with any relationship. And I think where we at right now, there's a lack of commitment. There's a lack of responsibility. It takes a lot of effort to make anything work if you're not committed to it. So with your question, I can't see anything changing unless you're committed first. You know, Christ first, for sure. And I'm even leery when I say that, because again, everybody, I remember a situation where, just like what Nate was saying, where this lady was telling me she was pretty much everything. Whatever I like, she liked. And if I had an opinion about something, she shared the same opinion. If I was voting for the Republican, she was voting Republican. Democrat.
I think that's what determined me.
You know, no identity, but because unfortunately, not every man has a vision, and not every woman is looking for a man to have a vision. You know, so I guess I'm looking at that part as well, where they're just looking at the ideal relationship, the one that society has been ingrained in us overall. Graduate from high school, go to college, get married, get the picket fence, have the 2 kids and a dog, and life is groovy. And that's just not the case. I believe when it comes to relationship and as far as making them work, you start with you first. And then I believe in being honest with yourself. I tell anybody, I have my own issues. I had them yesterday, I got them today, and I'm going to have them tomorrow. But my strength and my source is God. I can look to the Bible, and it helps me and encourages me. And I tell God, I'm transparent with him, God, this is me, I say this, I do this, I struggle with this, I need help with that, whatever it is. So I look at it as far as a woman is concerned, I believe that when it comes to a vision that she has as far as what I'm doing, whatever I'm passionate about doing, I believe she will come along, but I'm not necessarily looking, you know, oh, that must be her because I enjoy doing this and here she is, we must be compatible. You know, I'm not necessarily doing that, but I'm just kind of thinking outside of the box because I don't want to limit God.
You know, I used to, when people used to tell me, stop looking. I used to say, well, the Bible says he that finds, I gotta find, until I started focusing on my stuff, what God told me to do. And then I understand that now. Still haven't met her yet. But I understand what they meant by that, is that if you focus on what you're supposed to be doing. Seeking and I was reading that scripture the other day. When you seek the kingdom first, and you start focusing on that, then you know everything. Because I had this like years ago. I had this girl. I was with this girl for 4 years. I knew she was doing it for me. I mean, when I first met her, I was asking for a phone. She was like, "Lord, should I give my phone?" And I was like, "Oh, snap, yeah, good, yeah." Then 4 years, nothing happened. But and I was like, God, you know, why? What's going on here? I ain't heard nothing. But one day God said to me, "Pursue me like you pursue me."
Yeah, that's it.
And I was like,
That's it.
huh? He said, "Pursue me like you pursue her. Take the time to get to know me.
Yeah.
Be intimate with me. Spend time with me. Talk to me.
When you learn.
You know, look for me. Learn me."
Don't
He
make
said,
your
"Pursue me."
Yeah.
But he was giving me a process.
Right.
This was before I wrote my book. He was giving me a process of, you know, he was showing me, because when he started, that's when I first started realizing I had a singles ministry. Yeah, but he was showing me a process to be successful as single. He said, "Pursue me like you pursue her." You know, and I started, and it was just like, I was like, wow.
He told you an unmarried man or unmarried woman need not be concerned with the things of this world, but how he may please the Lord.
Right. And that's what he was showing me. That once you start pursuing me, I will show you what to do, how to do, when to do, who, and things like that. And that's what we got to do, ladies as well as men. You got to, when you see somebody or you're interested in somebody, and even if you meet this person, because ultimately men, we're appearance driven. We're going to see you first like, damn. You know, and then we're going to think about your spiritual ability then. You know, because I'm
That's out of order. That's out of order.
I'm
saying that's how we smart, but it's not order.
Really, I can't agree, because God made us that way. We're appearance. When God created Adam and Eve, he presented Eve to Adam. Yeah. So when Adam first saw her, that's the first thing he saw.
Wow, what amazing.
So that's why I'm very so because like he said earlier, I don't want nobody I'm not attracted to. So ultimately, we have to be attracted to her. So we're appearance driven, so we see appearance first, whether it's classy or it's slutty.
I would like to point out that I said that last.
but whether it's classy or whether it's slutty, whether we look at it, ladies, one thing I want to say is that too, we remember you how we first see you. If you're half naked when I see you, that's how I'm going to remember you, because every time I look at you, I'm going to wonder how it looks when your clothes on. Just to be real about it.
But if you dress conservative, leave something to the imagination, wow, I can pursue this.
Exactly.
Right, I can pursue this. I'm destined now. I got to go after this, okay? I got to pursue this.
Now, back to what I said. But then we're parents driven, we see that first, and then we come and learn spiritual. So, but I say to say, we got to pray and ask God, you know, how to pursue. So as men, I think we should pray, ask God how to pursue this woman. Because if she's a woman of God, even if she's not a woman of God, one thing key, my pastor said this to me, and he said, she may not always be on your level spiritually, but it's your job to get her there.
Yeah.
Because you're the pastor of that house.
Yeah.
She may not be saved when you meet her, but if you choose to pursue her, then it's your job to lead her to Christ.
Amen.
So therefore, we all, as ladies, just pray when you meet a man. Pray about him. You know, what should you receive from him? Should you even go out with him? Should you go into an intimate setting with him? These things now, sometimes, you know, we can say, you know, it's too spiritual. Now, I'm the first one to say, you know, y'all know I'm the first one to say, look, let's be real about it. It ain't that spiritual. You know, but on certain things, you know, we still have to be spiritual. Now, on this, I'm talking spiritual. You know, we have to pray those things. These things I've learned, you know, over the years.
I wanted to say that you brought up a good point. If he's saved and she's not saved, and a woman, if she's saved, I've seen this before where the woman's saved and the guy's not saved, but you're still praying to God. But at the same time, you're in a vulnerable state, and I don't think when I've seen some women do this, they don't. You know, I've seen one actually married a guy, and they're great together now. They actually became deaconesses in the church, but you run the risk of a lot of damage, because first of all, if he's going to be the head of your house and you're believing God for it, how can you believe God for a man to be in a position where he's not even under God already? He's not a spiritual authority. So you're ready to submit to somebody who's not even submitting to God. And that's why I made that point earlier about women have to be careful the type of guy they're dealing with or they're interested in, because the desire is already placed in them to desire a husband. But you also have to operate in a lot of Holy Spirit to operate in the spirit of self-control, temperance is what you need also, because you end up marrying somebody that could be your bozo, not your boaz.
And that's where like I said earlier about praying, because like women not pursuing God. Because what you do, she can be the guy that's not saved. But if he asks you for your phone number or asks you to go out with you, tell him, you can go out with me Sunday morning, 10:30 a.m. meet me here. And some men will go just to appease you, but you have to pay attention to that. You have to pay attention, because you could lead him to Christ, and then you may lead him to Christ, and he may not be your husband. He may be for somebody else.
Exactly.
But it's still a witnessing too. If women meet a guy that's not saved, he try to holler, and you're deep in God, you have a sincere relationship with God, lead him to Christ. If he acts like he don't want to hear about the Bible, because like you say, he ultimately has to be the head and your spiritual couple. Because God goes God, husband, family. It don't go God, wife, and husband. So it has to be once it's in that order, it flows perfectly. So, ladies, you have to understand that when you meet him, even if he's not saved, I'm not saying go out there and get an unsaved man, but I'm going to say, okay, if you meet him, lead him to Christ first. Then talk about dating. See where his relationship, see how his relationship goes with God. Then talk about it. I've seen it happen to too many women. I've seen my pastor tell some of them that he's not the one, and they leave the church because they're mad, get with him, he heard them, then they come back. I've seen it plenty of times. So obviously somebody sees something. So you have to pray first and listen to what God has to say. The last time we asked God, so we got to ready for the answer.
Oh yeah.
Because it may not be what you want to hear.
Exactly.
So on that note, I want to see if the ladies have anything that they want to say, ask questions.
Oh, I have a question.
Speak up so that make sure we get you.
My question is, if a woman is hungry for the Lord, is that seen as she's too churchy, or she's not appealing because she's spiritual, or she's not as relatable in the natural things because she's a worshiper and she's focused on God?
I think it depends again on the guy, because for me personally, I like conversations, I like talking, and I love talking about the Bible, but there's other things that I'm involved with, such as going to work, and I'm a single parent, so raising my children. There's other things, and my thing is, I don't want to go out to a restaurant and ask, how's your food? Food is a blessing. How you feeling today? I'm blessed and highly favored. Okay, can I ask you something else that doesn't have a biblical cliche to it? How's your family? Something like that. So to me, it's almost a turnoff, and it could sound wrong, but to me, there's things that's outside of the Bible that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. How are you feeling? Because to me, sometimes when I meet a woman that's every response is always a biblical cliche, to me, a flag goes up. There's something wrong, because you can't be honest with yourself.
They say it plainly that you're so religious, you're no earthly good. Yeah, you're so heavenly minded, you're no earthly good. You can't even engage in a normal conversation. You know what I'm saying? How was your day at work? How life has been treating you, and where are you at? You got to be versatile in the conversation, You got to be able to venture out, come outside the box. We know how you are in church, okay, but how are you outside the church? You know what I mean?
And the other thing I just want to add, so pretty much a woman that's balanced is basically,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just because, like I said what you guys said. Now, it depends. There's some men that's like that.
Oh, yeah.
There's some men that everything they say is, hey, hallelujah. But now that's their relationship.
Right.
That's their relationship. Some of it is fake, but that's their relationship. But it's like, you can't be, like you said, so spiritual that you're no natural good and no natural and no spiritual good. Like Sasha said, has to be a balance. Everything, like me, I'm a licensed minister. I love God. I have a sincere relationship with God. talk to God every day. I'm also a musician. I like different things. You know, I go to a lounge, sit down, watch a band play. You know, I'm a mint condition fan. I'm sorry, I got every CD. I listen to I'm a mint condition, but I don't need nobody telling me, you know, baby, you're going to hell because you listen to mint condition.
Right.
You know, those things. I want somebody. I'm very versatile. I'm very balanced. I can talk business. I can talk church. I can talk politics. Somebody that can talk those things, and that's not making me feel like I'm less spiritual than I know I am.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a turn off, ladies, to men. You know, you have to. I was counseling a friend on this one time before, and I told her, when you go out, don't, you know, if he calls you, that's why praise the Lord. You know, ask him, you know, it's him. You know, it's like, hey, you know, how you doing? You know, don't be on him like every conversation. Well, what's your purpose? What's your godly purpose? What's your ministry? You know, let him tell you. Let those things. If he's real, sincere, it'll come out, and he'll show.
I've actually had a friend like that. When I met him, this is before I even had this relationship with Christ that I have now. But it was that kind of conversation. It was always something biblical. And she's great. We're friends to this day. But we just talked recently the last couple of months, and she had wondered how come I never pursued her. And I told her, you know, I felt like you was more spiritually mature than I was. So I was spiritually intimidated by her at that time. And she didn't realize it because there was no other side of her. It was always spiritual, you know, everything. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's like, there was no temperance for her. And I never saw that. So, I mean, like I said, we're friends, but to each his own.
So do we have anything to add?
I have a CD, The Ministry of Marriage by Voddie Baucham Jr. And basically he said that some men, they wait until they've accomplished all their goals and pretty much like their life is just sucked out of them before they'll make a commitment to get married. So I just basically want to know how you all feel about it, because he suggested that young men get married early to fight temptation and things of that nature, whereas now our generation is waiting until they accomplish all their goals or they're old or something like that before they'll get married.
Well, I see a lot. With that, I see a lot because you look at the divorce rate today. I mean, if you don't have a true understanding of marriage and you look at the divorce rate, you're not even going to want to get married. And then a lot of times you see a lot of women that really, today's society, a lot of women, if you're not a baller or you don't have these number of figures or you're not this, you're not driving this, then it don't have nothing to do with you. So a lot of times, a lot of men would say, you know, I'm going to get everything. So I don't have to worry about nothing. Now, like me, I thought like that before. I thought, yeah, well, I want to make sure I got everything, so when I meet my wife, everything is in place. You know, everything is set. You know, I got the business going, I got the great job, I got the car, I got the big house. So when I get married, all I got to do is put her in place and everything. But, you know, a friend of mine told me, what if you find somebody that's already got that? You going to turn her away? Thought about it, no. But, you know, we got to realize that it's a working together thing. Yeah, I understand that if I got it all, she come, you know, then fine. But if I'm not going to try to wait until I got everything accomplished. You got to look at, like I said, the divorce rate, how men are getting hurt, how women are coming at you, you know, you got to have this. If you don't have this, now you got to do with you. So a lot of them probably feel like I need to get everything. And then I can get her, or I can get the one that I want.
We need to come away from the materialistic aspect of relationships. That's where a lot of relationships go wrong. And you know, you come into this relationship, well, you got to have it all together, or she's got to have it all together. And you come into each other. First of all, you come into each other for all the wrong reasons. You know, your motives and your agenda is all out of whack. It's the world's view and the way the world see things. You know, are you coming to this thing to grow and do things as a partnership, as one? You know, I think about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. They are as one. And the couple has to take on that mindset. We're coming together as one, not as two individuals. We got our own agenda, or we got this going on, got that going on. That's crazy. You know, I have been intimidated to a point where I won't enter into marriage because I feel I can never measure up. I can never give you everything that you want. That's wrong. You know, love me for who I am. Allow me to love you for who you are. You know, that's my perspective on it now. You know, so.
I would say for me, I won't disagree with what he's doing and saying as far as the younger people to get married. However, anytime you come out with, I guess, a one answer to fit all, it's not going to fit everybody. Some people, that may be great, they can go ahead and get married young, and I'm not putting them down at all, that's great. But that's not going to work for everybody. And even, especially as Christians, I've seen it myself. You get married at that age, younger maybe 21, maybe 25, maybe 30, 35. Temptation is out there. I've known people that
they get married at 40.
Exactly. I mean, the temptation is out there. So, when you ask the question, what do I think about that? And should we basically just do everything we need to do to prepare the house and maybe even sow our own oats before we get married? I don't necessarily agree with that as far as getting everything together. I don't believe in the one answer fits everything. I believe everybody should, I guess, have some kind of accountability as far as when it comes to getting that kind of relationship if they're young and getting married. I think a reality check needs to be expressed to them as far as prepare them. There are single women out there that are looking for a husband. And when you're in a position, I mean, we're talking from here, and he's a minister, but anybody as a Christian man that's in a position of leadership, you always have people coming to you. And when you have people coming to you, mostly women, some women are looking for, we're all looking for God to some degree. So when they see a little bit of God in you, there's that attraction there. And then the more time you spend with somebody, the more you open up your level of trust to them. And I say all this to say, temptation is walking in the door as you open up your trust. If you're not spiritually guarded or if you haven't been prepared for it, it can happen. So I don't necessarily agree with that. But then as far as preparing a house, doing everything you need to do as far as get the business established and then go look for her, that may work for 3 guys, and the other 4 guys, they may want her in the beginning, like he was saying, to help build them up along the way. Because I had the same reference of mine that he had. I wouldn't want to have everything that I desire established, 5 houses and 20 cars, and then she comes along because now I'm wondering what's her motive. Is she here for me or is she here for my possessions? So yeah, it is a little safer when you have somebody in the beginning to work with you, but I'm learning now that I can't put God in a box, so I don't know when she will come, if she will come. I have to be real with all the possible answers that I can think of. I hope that answers your question.
I just have one more. Okay, I've noticed just a lot of focus is being put on women, how we should conduct ourselves. We don't need to be having sex outside of marriage. We don't need to dress this way and things of that nature. But who's holding the men accountable? I mean, it takes a man and a woman.
The only person.
God.
That's the only person that was God.
But no, there's never any reference to a man.
Well,
I hear very little about men. It's like always targeted to us.
We
It's
all-
just like the book and the movie, Think Like a Man.
Well, it's targeted to you. I'm not saying that I agree with it being targeted to you guys, but I can give you a reference as to why. It's because a lot of times, let's say first, men are appearance driven. We will only do what we will only do what you allow us to do. So a lot of women are getting hurt. A lot of women are objectifying, is that a word? That's a word in the GNB today. Objectifying themselves, having all these babies, becoming single moms, and all these things because they allowed some guy to come in there and mess them over. See, so a lot of the times, if the person that's targeting you guys is real about it, it's a target to help you. Because, like I said earlier, how I see you in the beginning, if I see you, you come to me, introduce yourself to me, and you got all this showing, the pants skin tight, I ain't see nothing wrong with it. But that's how I'm gonna see you. No, I'm just being real.
Yeah.
And, as a man, it's gonna attract my attention. But when I see you next time, I'm gonna be thinking about the skin tight jeans and the low cut shirt you had on, and it's gonna take me a few to really, really get that out of my mind, to get to know you and to see you in a different light. Now, if you come to me, one thing for me, I love to see a woman that has a pair of jeans, nice heels, and a button down. That is like, I love that. You don't have to show everything to get my attention.
if you can dress classy, you know, I can see your beauty. You know, and men, we can see your beauty. You don't have to pop out without answer. You know, and that's what a lot of women don't understand. They feel they got to show everything, you know, to get a man's attention. So when you're doing that, and you know, you guys is letting the guy come in, he's having sex with you, he's leaving women with kids. And I'm not down to single mothers, because there's some great single mothers out there take care of the kids. I give them props, because you know it's a hard job. You know, but
You got to get it, brothers, as single parents and brothers too.
yeah.
I've had to be a single
We're
parent.
talking about right now. We're talking about calm down, calm down. All right, calm down, people. Okay, but part of the reason, like for me, when I talk about different things about life with women, it's to help. Some people just tell you something. Mine is to help, because now God holds me accountable. And even with my single stuff, I talk about men too. You know, I hold men accountable to the things that we do. I had to hold myself accountable. Things I did and things I do. So, you know, that's, you know, to me, that's part of the reason.
Okay, so right now we're going to go ahead and take another break. All right, so welcome back. So here we are again. We're going to start the segment off with one question from one of the ladies here in the audience.
So we were discussing the setting the stage in the beginning of having a friendship and nothing else further, no romantic relationship pursuit after that. So what happens? So if the male does have an interest in this female, but they want to get to know them, they want to become friends, how do they say that? I mean, how is that clearly stated, hey, I want to be your friend, in hopes that it'll become something else? Or do you even say that, or is it just the unspoken?
It depends. It depends on the situation. Now, a lot of times, and me, I'm really like a straightforward person. You know, if I'm interested in you, you know, when I meet you, I'm going to let you know that. But it comes to a point where, you know, after, you know, when we're friends, a lot of times you want to just roll, it'll roll into it. It'll roll into relationship. Because most of the time, if you're real about it, you know and he know that y'all are not meeting each other just to be friends. Y'all meet each other because you're attracted to each other, and it's going, and you both want it to go into something more. But you started off the right way. So it really doesn't have to be spoken. Because you know when I meet you, and you know, and I holler that, you know, it's you know, it's like that. Because if I meet you and I ask for your phone number, that means I'm interested. Because if we're friends, that way we're gonna hang out for a while around a bunch of people, and I'm gonna see you, like, what's up, girl? Hey, girl, you know. But if I meet you and I say, hey, you know, can I get your number? Can I call you sometime? That means basically right there that I'm interested.
And so that, go ahead. That goes. I mean, what you're saying, basically, is you still have to be specific in your communication with that individual. Because if you're not, I can misinterpret this young lady liking me,
Right.
you know, for so much more, or I'm liking her for so much more, and I'm like, whoa. And then all of a sudden down the road, 3 months down the road, you discover, well, I don't see you that way. And your feelings are hurt.
Yeah,
right?
but that's why you established all that in the beginning.
But you, when you were explaining to her, you were saying, like, okay, well, you don't necessarily have to explain at the beginning.
Well,
Eventually, it's going to come out.
Well, that's why I said that basically the both of you know when you meet each other what you're meeting each other for. Well, because if let's say okay, Deanna, let's say I met Deanna, okay, and I go to Deanna, I'm saying I go to Deanna, I meet Deanna, I say Deanna, you know, hey, how you doing? This is me. I don't play around. How you doing? My name's Nick. How you doing? You married? No. You got a boyfriend? No. Can I call you? Yes or no? You say yes, we get number, I call you, we talk. If it don't go into something else, it'll be into a friendship. But you know, if you're just a friend, and I'm going to see you as a friend, it's not going to be all that. It's going to be, I'll see you when the next group come along, or I'll see you when we at the next singles thing, or I'll see you
Right.
because I don't have time to wait.
Right.
So we'll hang out at church, be like, hey girl, what's up? You know, things like that, you know, we talking, and then who knows, later down the road, it might.
Right.
But that's me saying, that's me being straightforward.
Right.
I'm not leaving anything to chance.
But that's your approach, because my approach is a little different. Everybody's a friend for me. You know, everybody starts off as a friend. But then when you start spending more time with the person, it can sometimes become the pink elephant in the room, where one person may actually be interested in more than a friendship, and the other one may be completely oblivious to
Now,
it.
does everybody always time? I'm pretty not devil's advocate right now.
But I understand.
Time is getting ready to escalate now. But does everybody always start off as a friend to you, though? If you meet a woman that you're attracted to, you telling me that in your mind, she's just a friend.
Oh, if I'm attracted, then that's different. If I'm attracted
That's
to
what
her,
you said.
yeah.
You said everybody starts off with you as a friend. That's what.
If I'm attracted to her, then there's that extra boost that I'm putting into finding out is she available, is she single, where she stands.
If you ask her if she's single, that's her answer right there.
Yeah, and she interested in me because a woman can say no. She don't have to always say yes to me. I've been turned down, believe it or not.
They'll let you know if they're interested. You can tell when a woman's interested. Don't be trying to bash
I
them.
know I'm the moderator and all, but I was reading this book by Malcolm Rowe about friendship and relationship, and he stated that really every relationship should really start off with friendship.
Friends, of course.
And there's different levels to the friendship. You know, you start off with your basic friendship. You know, that's like, you know, hey, getting to know each other. You know, like on the levels you talk about when you first meet and you know that person's going to be a friend. But then the more you grow from the basic to a closeness.
Right.
You go from closeness to the intimacy. So throughout the whole phase of the different phases of the friendship, you know, you're building and you become more intertwined with each other. So the more you become that friend with that person, that's just like saying, you know, if your best friend is a girl, you know all about her. She shares everything with you. You know, some best friends, they grow into more. Some of them, they just stay as they are. But he was really emphasizing the fact of that when you grow in that, you get more intimate. You start to know more about each other's dreams, each other's passions. That person is really filling in more for you, and you're doing the same for them.
That's still a
And he was
relationship.
saying, but he also said that friendship level, then you come to a point of establishing a relationship. Mutually. You know, sometimes that friendship, I know some people that say, you know, they want to take a whole year to get to know a person. You know, and because you can, and also my pastor said the same thing. You should take all 4 seasons to get to know a person because things happen. You know, and you learn more on a friendship level. You know, you don't have that heartbroken, like you're in a relationship and that person somehow crosses you in the wrong way. You know.
But you got to be real about it. I'm sorry.
No, well, let me finish up. So then when he said that you go to the relationship level and then that leads into marriage, he said because everything really should be done in the friendship because when you get to the marriage stage of things, that's just only the right to just be more physical. Because he was breaking it down as far as the, dealing with the soul, the body, and the spirit. And saying that through this relationship, through the friendship, you really should connect spiritually first. So you start with spirit, soul, and then body. Because the body is the third phase, which is really the marriage. So when you get into the soul, you get more connected emotionally within that friendship. So, you know, I just wanted to add that to, you know, help the ladies understand that, you know, even when you meet somebody, even if it is an interest, you want to start on a level that's going to be the right way. You always want to start off the right way first. And if it builds, then it builds into that.
But you have to look at relationship versus friendship. Okay. I kind of agree. You know, Miles Monroe, great man. I love him. But you still have to look at you got to be real about this thing. Okay. If I like her, in my mind, while I'm building this friendship with her, I still like her.
Yeah, I mean,
so therefore, my pursuit is going to be a pursuit of friendship for a purpose.
And there's nothing wrong
See,
with that.
it's different with the friendship. And I said that in the beginning. It's different with the friendship where we just being friends. And that phase what he talking about, you know, the getting to know you phase friendship, that's getting to know you phase relationship. You know, intimate phase friendship, that's intimate phase relationship. The next phase of friendship is the next phase of relationship. You just have to figure out where you are on that. If I'm just friends with her and it goes into a relationship later, that's because that was the purpose of just friends. But if I like her and I'm interested, then the purpose of that is to pursue into a relationship. But I'm building a friendship / relationship with her. Because that's my motive. See, we have to, because if we go in it thinking or telling ourselves, if we go into lying to ourselves, that I'm just looking at her as a friend, then your actions are going to say, I'm looking at you as a friend. And she may even like it, but she's going to say, oh, he just see me as a friend. Then you can see her out there with Joe Blow, and you're going to be mad. because you saw her out with another dude. But if you go in there and she like you, you found out she like you and you like her, and you are pursuing that friendship, but with the purpose of relationship, then you ain't got to worry about that.
Right.
You don't have nothing to worry about, or worry about being hurt, or worry about being mad, because you're learning each other for a purpose.
Right. Both be mutually.
Right. It's mutual. You know each other for a purpose.
As long as it's being expressed, when it's not being talked about, one person has a motive and the other one doesn't convey their motive, it's not going to work.
Now, one thing I don't like that women do is they just fall off the face of the earth. You know, when they're not interested, they know you're interested, so they say they're not interested.
Yeah. Some do that.
Yeah. Why do they do that?
That's another panel.
Why you gotta do that?
Yeah, that's supposed to be the,
No.
You mumbled the word.
But they do that, you know,
I would say maybe sometimes it's not the fact that, I mean, maybe you just didn't step up to the plate.
Definitely.
I mean,
Definitely.
some people, but then you have some that just don't communicate that. I mean, communication is a big thing for a lot of people.
Women communicate different. You think about it, like, we're a lot more direct what we say. They kind of, y'all talk around.
Not all women.
Not all women, just like not all men.
98% of them.
We talking about averages.
Women are detailed. Women are detailed. Men are highlighters. Give me the highlights.
Well, it's like they expect us to know what they're thinking. You know, like I've seen that. You know, I've had it happen to me. You know, we're going out. You know, a couple months. You know, everything good, and all of a sudden, everything phone calls starts slowing down, things like that. And he's like, what's going on? Oh, nothing. I'm just busy. Then you see her out with a knucklehead. You know, that then she called you for advice because knucklehead's not stupid.
But that takes us back to the first thing we discussed. And what was the definition of your relationship? Was it a relationship or was it just a friendship? Because if she just saw it as a friendship, then she has every right to distance herself.
And if she see you want more, and she never said that she wanted a relationship, now she's going to distance herself because she don't want to hurt you.
Or it could have been just the fact that it's just...
That's so funny.
That happens.
Really? I agree, but I don't agree. I think men and women do that. And I say that, you know, because I know that's happened to some women too. That's just a cop-out.
Well, I mean, but being honest
because
is not something that a lot of people want to do. Being honest and look, I like you as a friend. I like the relationship where it is. A lot of people will not do that because a lot of us fear rejection. You know,
but you can be honest enough with me when you want me to buy you something. You can be honest enough with me when you want some money. Be honest enough with me when you want sex. You can't be honest enough with me when you don't want a relationship.
I don't want to hurt you.
But the whole thing, the fact of the matter is, you know, people should just communicate, period. You know, just, you know, learn how to do that. And that goes on both ends for men and women. And,
yeah, we do have a problem with
communication. Yeah, you know, so.
We have a problem with how we communicate with each other. Like, say, for just to give a brief example, women say, like, you come home, she's sitting on the couch, she's like, oh, man, I say, like, what's wrong? Nothing. You know it's not the truth. When you ask the guy, say, what's wrong with you? You sit there like, we'll just tell you. Women, not so much. So that's just little stuff like that that makes stuff happen.
And then they get mad when you don't try to find
Again, we keep saying not all men, but I can say not all women. The whole point is, on average, the majority of women and the majority of men are their way. That's
it could be a way of processing. You know, some men have a way of processing just like some men have a way of processing. It's not always good because then it leaves, you know, I'm just going to be in between stage right now, but, you know. I'm just going to say because if a woman does not communicate her feelings as well, then it leaves that man guessing. Like, what's really wrong?
And then you get upset about something we don't keep asking.
And then the same, you know, vice versa for, you know,
because we be like,
as well.
If we're like, what's wrong? You say nothing. What's wrong, mate? Nothing. What's wrong? Nothing. And then we leave it alone. Are you okay?
Yeah, exactly. So we gotta find
y'all do that.
That's the truth.
You don't care about
and then your rule book is blank, basically. What meant this yesterday, tomorrow we put up that same rule. No, it don't mean that.
No.
I mean this.
All right, so we're going to...
Okay,
that's a good way to sum everything up.
I mean, yeah, it is. So, what is your interpretation of submission?
Interpretation of submission. Why does it be me when you ask?
I'm just looking.
Interpretation. My interpretation.
Actually, that's over Carrie, because you know you answer enough.
Oh, yeah. Go for it, Karen.
Well, it's kind of interesting. We did talk about this briefly. Like, submission doesn't mean that the man comes always say, dishes done, did you wash my clothes, stuff like that. There's nothing like that. Like, oh, you'd be surprised.
I thought it did.
Oh, man, let me. I don't want to be in the line of fire, but no, it's basically how the man leads. It's like you were saying earlier. They talk about how things go. Basically, the man is to cover the woman. At the same time, it's not that we going around trying to say, just try to box around and tell you everything to do. It's basically we're supposed to lead. We're not just lead by giving orders, things like that. We lead by example, by how we lead. Pray for her, lead spiritually, physically, all that. It's basically not about giving orders or anything like that. It's basically making sure we're in tune with what God has to say, that we make sure our family follows that.
And I would say, the way I see it, to the level of degree I submit myself to God, she'll be submissive to me. And in addition to that level of submission, I also see it as also me being able to serve her also as well. I don't look at myself as being above her. I look at her as the Bible says, my helpmate, my help me.
Submission is unto the Lord.
Right.
You can submit unto the Lord, then have the problem. I mean, Jesus said, I come not to be served, but to serve. How can I serve you? Let me wash your feet.
Right.
I've had situations where the girl was blown away because, and she said, you serious? I said, yeah, let me do your toes. Let me do your nails.
How they look.
and they were blown away. I've never had a man do this. I've never had a man do this before. I'm like, oh, really?
I would also add not only that, but as far as being submissive, and being a helpmate as well. I just lost my train of thought.
Well,
it's like submission goes two ways. As men, we have to submit to God, and the woman submits to the man. What women don't understand is that submission is submission. You're subbing under my mission that God has made to be your spiritual leader, to be your spiritual head, to be the covering for you. And your job as a submission part is to bring your qualities and what you have to my mission that I have, that I'm submitting to God. Because I have to be submitted, and what I have to do, my submission to God is I have to go to Him every day to pray for you, to go to Him every day how to cover you, how to go to Him every day how to take care of you. And then your job is to be praying, okay, God, what do I need to do for my husband? Okay, what does he have? When I come here and say, baby, God showed me this, okay, what do we need to do with that? How do I need to make the house? Because they say, a woman can turn a house into a home. Mm-hmm. They can, I forgot what it was, but it was deep. Like, a woman can turn a house into a home. Yeah. She can turn an auction. Something. It was. But how a woman can take something, and she wounds it. How she can take something. She can take this pen on this table and just take it and make it look like it's a whole dining room set. But that's the part we don't have, and that's the submission part, because you're subbing under my mission to take care of you.
Okay, so let me ask this. So, what happens even when the man, so the man is to leave and all, submit to God, but what happens when the woman is the one with the ministry, or the woman is the one that God actually raises up?
My train of thought that I forgot was she should still be submissive to the husband as far as she may have the ministry, but who's making the final decision? As far as we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. I mean, if he's one of those guys that he's behind closed doors, but she's out in the limelight, she may be still consulting her, which I would like to believe she is, because that's also what it means to be submission. Like he was saying, bringing the qualities and falling up under him, because he's answering for her, because he's her covering. So that's how I'm looking at being submissive. Is she has a ministry, but I'm still the head of my house. I'm still praying. I may not just be in the front of the congregation like she is.
That was prime example. Joyce Meyer.
Yes.
Joyce Meyer would tell you quick, if Dave say I can't go, I will not go. No matter what I say, I can say, God told me to go preach here. If Dave say do not go, I do not go. If Dave say you cannot go shopping, I don't go shopping.
Right.
Not saying that Dave's a dictator like that, but even if God called you to ministry, when you come home, like, I didn't say that. Because that would be too real. Okay, like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with women pastors. Okay? Nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, when you come home, you're my pastor in church.
but when you come home,
You know what?
I'm still the head of my house.
Mhm.
So therefore, you have to be able to say, okay, even in church, it's still the same way, because you have to be able to say, okay, this is my husband, and I can't really say because I can't see how I'm the pastor of my house, but even if you're in the line that you're the ministry, I'm still responsible for your covering spiritually.
Okay. So, my next question would be, so, because the word submission is such a bad taste in so many women's minds, you know, when they hear the word, it's like, I can't get with it. Why do you think that that is so? I mean, like,
Stigma. I mean, it's been out there.
And all that get understanding.
well, could it be because of some men, the way they push it out there to be like, well, I'm the brute, caveman type, mentality.
Yeah. Well, again, we're talking this from a Christian perspective, so we're supposed to renew our minds daily. So there's a lot of things that you're not aware of that we have brought into the Christian culture that we have not changed the way we should look at it. So when you think submissive, now how many people actually look up the word submissive to see what it means? How many do, when you look at words in the Greek and the Hebrew and just find out what it means, look at the culture at that time. And I would like to think that maybe not a whole lot. You just hear submissive and what you see on TV, what you hear in the song. You imagine a woman with an apron on, just with slippers and a sandwich on a tray, bowing down, giving it to the man. But that's not what the Bible was talking about when it meant being submissive. So if we're talking about Christian men and Christian women, I suggest they look up what it is that they're being submissive to as far as the word, how it's being used, and how it's supposed to interact with
Well, you have to understand, what happens is, Miles Monroe said, if you don't understand the purpose of the thing, you'll abuse it. So if I don't understand the purpose of a woman, he wrote a book, Understand the Purpose of Our Men, Understand the Purpose of Our Women. If I don't understand her purpose, she won't understand my purpose. I don't understand the purpose of the creation. Now I'm going to abuse her. So what happens is, so many men have abused women, that have portrayed them. Now we tell Christians, churchmen, because they don't understand their purpose and they don't understand submission to God.
Right.
So they've abused women and things. So when women hear the word submission, especially in church, it's like, we have women that see their mothers abused. Their mothers treated like that. It's in there. So, a woman that understands and has studied it will understand, or that hasn't been through that things will understand what submission is because she's seen it in her house.
Right.
But other women, when they look at that, you got to look at why they think that way about submission.
Right.
And you can ask, well, why do you feel that way? Because I ain't bow down to no man. You ain't going to tell me what to do, neck me rolling and all that stuff.
But as godly men, we're supposed to cultivate you.
We're supposed to pastor them. That's our job.
Okay, so I want to make this statement and answer the question. I know I had one person that actually say, when we talk about submission, and how you said, I'm sorry, I always got to pick on you, but
I'm ready for it.
But you said how, the women come under submission. The way the person explained, and this is a guy, he said, because the woman comes alongside his mission. So, I know it's different viewpoints for how men look at that, but for me, and I'm quite sure for other women, he softened it up when he did it that way.
Yeah, I understand that.
Because, and one thing that, just to kind of tie things together, is that, God has a purpose for the man, just like how he has a purpose for the woman. And there are gifts that are involved with women, just like there's gifts involved with the man, that God has placed there.
Sure.
So when a person understands their purpose and their gifting, and they come alongside a man who has a mission or has that task. And like when I was looking up, I like to look up, break down words. So sub was like understanding, auxiliary, some of the words. And mission was a person's task. So you have somebody coming alongside, which is like auxiliary, that's just another group. So that person can operate in the same gifting that God has put in them for your purpose.
Amen.
So how can you make a woman feel secure about submission?
Getting her involved. Getting her involved with them, because like you said, when you said auxiliary, and all that stuff. Now you gotta look at the word sub. There's submarine with submarine. Goes underwater. They said under auxiliary. Auxiliary is under, another part of the corporation. Now under is not bad. That's the problem. That's what happens. They look at the word under as something being bad. It's not bad because auxiliary is an extension of. But what we have to do to make her secure about being submissive is let her know her value. Let her know that we understand her value. Let her be a part. Include her in what we're doing, and be interested in what she's doing. Support what she's doing. Push her on her mission. Push her on her purpose. And look, let's work on your thing today. Put mine to the side today. Let's work on yours. What do you got working? How are you with yours? Where you are on your goal. Be interested in her and making her a part of yours. That she's gonna reciprocate.
I will also add to that as we, because I know we run a little on time now. In addition to that, primarily, I look at the responsibility being put on her as far as to acknowledge it and to acknowledge it to him as far as that's a concern that she has. How are you going to make me feel or believe that being submissive up under you? But again, there's I guess a paradigm shift that has to take place, I believe, within her first, and then she should be able to look at his actions as well, because if he takes responsibility for her, he doesn't know how to actually meet that. Everything that he said could be true, but it may not be everything that she needs to feel totally secure. So, when you talk about something like that, I look at always the ownership is the individual first themselves, and we could come along and help them along the way as we should, because the Bible says, how can two walk together unless they come in agreement? So that's why I said she has a responsibility to acknowledge it. This is an area of issue or concern for her, or a challenge.
But then he also has a responsibility to make sure that once he explains that,
right,
to make sure that she understands that it's not about, where that person is coming from, where that man is coming from with it. And because also the Bible says that we also submit one to another.
right.
So when we look at all the scriptures together and balance out God's word, it's like, okay, yeah, we go in this order, but at the same time, when it comes down to something like that, you still have to, or that man still has to submit to the fact that this is a vulnerable space for her.
Right.
What can I do to make her feel secure? Go back to God. Well, what is it that I can do to make her feel like that she's not really under me? Just because the sub means to be under, but it also means alternate. It also means second. It means you alternate something. It means you alternate in that person.
Back and forth.
You back and forth. So it's like saying if a man acts in their finances and the woman is. She's like just a household. So you are alternating that purpose together. So, so I just wanted to just add that. I'm sorry I had the last word on that. But
Well, we still got to...
yeah,
I'm on Facebook, you on
but I just want to go ahead and close it up by just give 1 minute, sum it up everything, so what you can think of that was beneficial to us.
I would say just change how you view men in relationships. Change how you view the whole dating process. Because once you change your mind on something, it changes how you view it, you change how you do things. And that's my key.
Mine basically the same thing, change the way you think. And pray about everything. That's it.
Communication. Communication as far as, if you ever feel like there's a pink elephant in the room, I've gotten to a point where I believe you need to go ahead and confront it. Being transparent. Transparency and communication, to me, are significant in any relationship, from God down to sibling, family relationship. So if I am giving advice, is to communicate, even the things that's unbearable, the things that's embarrassing. To use discernment, of course, but if you're trying to establish a godly, fruitful relationship, then it will mature if you be committed to it, communicate, and be honest and open about it.
I would also like to say what they said as well. It's something I like to say, you change your mind, you change your life. That's very true. But I also like to throw this in there as well. Take your time. I understand men and women have different types of clocks, but it's like something we said earlier. If you give a man enough time, he'll show you who he is. So don't be so much in a rush to get to where you're going, to get to your destination. But take time along the way to really get in-depth information about who he is as a person.
Everything? All right, so thank you all for tuning in. We enjoyed this panel discussion with these men. Hopefully that everyone that sees this video will kind of gain something from it, and stay tuned for much more. Dr. Walking.